With the white curtains and telephone.
Is it tight?
It is. We need our backup singers.
The doo-wops.
The rotary rondelle.
There you go. The rotary
Okay.
There we go.
Are we live? Yes.
There we go.
Welcome to the Rotary Club of Livermore. Thank you all for being here. And thank you for all you do for the club and our community. Songsters, wait, Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance. Paul McCandless, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Songsters.
We don't need an introduction, but I will introduce here, give you guys a chance. You can stand up. You can sing louder if you stand up.
You stand up with us.
Okay, this is all about our country here. This is about this land is your land, it's my land, and we're going to sing it to you right now with your help. Okay. Ready?
This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking that river highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. I roamed and rambled and followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts. And all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me.
Mike Morgan, off for the day. Okay, why did I ask Don Wentz to play that number? That is La Virgen de la Macarena, which is a tremendous concert piece. It's much longer than that. That the Livermore High School band played 60 years ago at one of our annual concerts. The band director, was a gentleman by the name of Gerald Stasko, and I was the trumpet soloist. But this isn't about me, it's about Gerald Stasko. Mr. Stasko's celebration of life is this Saturday. Unfortunately, I will not be able to make it because I wanted to tell my story about how he saved me from ultimate embarrassment, but I can't be there, so I'm going to do it today. My thought for the day is how one man, Gerald Stasko, and the wonderful musicians of our school band made a huge difference in my life. Again, his celebration of life is on Saturday. I'm a Livermore native and a proud member of Livermore High's class of 1965. As a matter of fact, Chris Ising was there. We had a reunion, our 60th reunion, this past Saturday. I was a 4-year trumpet player for the LHS concert and marching band and the school dance band. All were supervised and conducted by Gerald Stasko. All of the band members look forward to our early morning band practice. For me personally, band was my favorite class in high school, and Gerald Stasko was clearly my favorite teacher. As a result of his guidance and instruction, our band was one of the finest in the state. We won all kinds of awards. He cared about all of us and put his all into making our band great. In my senior year at Livermore, Jerry Stasko selected me to be the band soloist at our spring school concert. The event featured the school concert band, the orchestra, and the choir. The event was held each year in the former school gymnasium. The gym bleachers were packed, and my mother and father were in attendance, anxiously waiting for my solo. The solo was for the concert piece, La Virgen de la Macarena, a classic concert band and trumpet composition that is performed by many professional trumpet players, including Rafael Mendez, Arturo Sandoval, and Doc Severinsen. I was to play the solo in front of the band, and it had to be memorized. And I practiced it in the basement of the school music room, but unfortunately, maybe not enough. On the night, it's a very long piece, and there's a lot to remember, right? On the night of the performance, the band started the dramatic music, a magnificent intro emphasizing the trombones and tubas, a tribute to Spanish matadors in the bullfight arena. I started my solo strong, and I felt confident in my performance. Then, halfway through the solo, my mind went blank. I lost my place. Jerry Stasko immediately recognized the problem and called out to the band to go back one measure. Miraculously, the wonderfully talented band members understood and complied with his direction. I then recovered my composure and was able to complete the rest of the solo successfully. When I told my mother and father what had happened, they were surprised and advised that they had no idea of any issue and told me that the performance was excellent. A recording of the evening showed no sign of my lapse. If our great band director, Gerald Stasko, had not been totally in control of our performance and immediately recognized my momentary lapse and had not had the band repeat the previous measure, I would not have been able to complete my solo. Can you imagine the humiliation and the embarrassment that I would have suffered if I had not been able to complete the solo? I owe him big time, along with my fellow band members, for rescuing me that evening in the school gym. I will never forget what he did for me that evening, and I continue to think of him often. Thank you, Gerald Stasko. For being the ultimate professional and caring musician that you were.
You still play?
What an amazing thought for the day. Our meeting front line, Spur reporter Joel Swanson, Spur publisher Don Wentz, photographer Christine Lusty. Thank you, Christine. Audiovisual all this week, Don Wentz. Thank you very much, Don. Greeter Mark Roberts, and more frontliners. Sergeant at Arms. Sergeant at Arms Pack is doing a fabulous job today. Next, web magician, Kathy, you've been doing a great job with the web. Magician. Public outreach. Kelly Bowers, always reaching out to our community on behalf of our club. And last but not least, Tim Berry, videographer. Thank you. Next up, introduction of visiting Rotarians and guests. And I think Bob Tutnut is back in the house. Susan, you've got Bob there.
I got Susan here.
Great.
Here we have favorite visiting, well, I shouldn't really say favorite, but our visiting Rotarian, who we all know, who is Bob Tutnut. And Bob, as you probably all know already, is an electrical contractor and a member of the Dublin Club.
Hi, Bob. Hi, Bob.
Good to see you.
You did a great job.
Any other guests to be introduced? Mike Thompson.
I don't have a guest, but I have a very long-time member who has come to the club for the first time in how many years? Jim? At least 2. So please welcome again Jim Hammond.
Hey, Jim.
Any other guests? Okay. Next up, announcements. Let's see. Lance Calvieri. Can I make an announcement? We talked about, yes. So Lance has agreed to join the President's Club. He'll be the first President's Club member of this Rotary year. So I just wanted you all to note that Lance has kicked it off. We'll be doing some more finding as the weeks go on here. Okay, next up. God.
Thank you. So over the weekend, I got a call from a Rotary Club of Santa Cruz, and they asked us to partner with them on a water purification project in Guatemala. And so it's well-deserved for our support, and it's very beneficial for Guatemala school children. So I'm going to quickly run through. If you have any more questions, I'll be glad to give you the details on that. All right. They plan to submit a district grant. Oh, by the way, so smaller projects, international, can be done using district grant. And the global grant are the ones that require minimum 30,000. So they chose to use it by district grant because it's expeditious. So they're submitting scheduled to submit their district grant on October 1. Installation is planned for March 2026. The cost is $29,950, and they told me roughly they have about 75% of the funds, and they're looking for around 7,500 plus or minus to be able to go with the project. Next. So the project details are Wellspring water purification system is going to be installed. It is from a proven innovative water technologies, and they have used that system many times before. And it will be installed in Las Chaparenas Village School in Guatemala. And the system is designed to remove E. coli and pathogens in school drinking water. And it generates about 40,000 liters per day safe drinking water for 1,000 students, staff, and families. By the way, the E. coli pathogens are known to exist there, and many, many water plants have been installed in Guatemala. So it reduces child mortality rates and improves community health. Next. So the $29,950 includes $14,500 for purchasing system, $5,450 for site preparation and installation and training. And I was surprised it really takes $10,000 for crating and shipping.
Oh, wow.
And so there must be some special requirements. So what they're looking for support from our club, the target 4,000 to 5,000. And I talked to RFL yesterday. They said it is okay for us to donate through Rotarian Foundation of Livermore, restricted account of the club, and we will collect all of them and send one check to Rotary Club of Santa Clara. And you can do it online, and if you do it online, please let me know so I can keep track. And also, if you'd like to give the check to me next week, I'd be glad to take it and process for you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Gal, or I guess this question for President Pat is all of the, when you did your memorandum and spending plan, is that all already designated for other projects, your DDF?
Yeah, I have not talked to him, but I've had previous discussions. We do have district grant, but I think we have a project that is in progress. It may benefit, and I really didn't want to push that right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
So you're looking for donations?
Yes, I'm looking for donations. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Cal. Thank you, Cal. And Jim Schmidt, I overlooked you. You said you were also going to join the President's Club and make some comments also about Erie coming back and have some opera notifications for us. Jim.
Well, first I'd like to thank the many people who help us out with the Livermore Valley Opera. You come, you buy tickets, you donate, and you go backstage and move furniture and play music and all those things, going clear back to the days of John Shirley. So I'd like to announce something of a somewhat small but important payback. A week from this Friday, Erie Mills will be giving a presentation at the Bothwell about how to make an opera. It's already in rehearsals. You'll probably have some singers. But the good point is, it's free food and free wine at no charge. So plan that. A week from this coming Friday would be the time. I think it's at, show up at 6 o'clock. Does that sound? 7. Show up at 7. And you should go online and reserve it. It's free. But we'd like to know how many people are coming. And to do that, just go to the Livermore Valley Opera website, and I think you'll find a spot. And for those who forget, I'll remind you next week. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Next up, the moment you've been waiting for, the twice a month club meeting at winery proposal update.
Okay, so Dennis and I are going to do this together. The proposal is to have, and I think you've all heard this, 2 evening meetings a month on the second and last Wednesday of the month. We would have meetings. There is one significant issue, and that's moving the audio-visual equipment back and forth. And it's not a simple task, and there's going to be action required, because Dennis is going to...
all this stuff also, the badges and everything as well.
Yeah, and other equipment, but yes, thank you, other things. But Dennis is going to summarize what that would involve, and we're looking for volunteers to help. and he'll describe what specifically we're looking for.
Let's see, we're talking about 2 meetings a month. I'm going to handle one meeting, the one I'm handling now on the last Wednesday of the month. We need maybe 3, maybe 4 volunteers to alternate carrying equipment back and forth as well for the second Wednesday of the month. Now this is the equipment we're talking about. 3 bins plus a foldable cart, a case for the speaker and its stand. That's probably the heaviest piece. That's 30 pounds or so.
But it has wheels.
But it has wheels. You're just going to have to be able to lift it and put it in your vehicle and not. And a projector, which is very light. Well, screen, projector screen. My mistake. So the requirements, there's no audiovisual requirements for this job, this volunteer job. This is a carry store, carry job. The idea is on the first Wednesday, at the end of the meeting here, the audiovisual team will pack things up and you'll take it back to your home, take it out of your vehicle, store it for a week, and the next Wednesday, pack your vehicle up, bring it to the winery, the back of the winery. And we'll bring it in and the audiovisual team will set things up. At the end of that meeting, we bring it back to your car, you pack your car, you drive home, you unload it into your garage or wherever you could store something. And then the next Wednesday after that, you pack it up and bring it here. The requirements are you have to be, well, fit enough to be able to carry some of this stuff, lift and carry some of this stuff, which isn't that bad. I could do it, you can do it. Second, you've got to have a vehicle, an SUV or a station wagon or a cart that can fold down the second seat and pack this stuff. I happen to have a car that the second seat folds down and I've put in the speaker bag and the projector screen bag, and then the bins follow with the cart, and it fits in just fine. And if you have a pickup truck, have some tie downs or some tarp when it gets wet. Who'd have thought it could rain in September, right?
Yeah, right.
So that's what we're asking for, and we're looking for volunteers. If we do get 3 or 4 volunteers, we can rotate, which means you get to do this once every 3 or 4 months. Not too bad, not too shabby. And if we don't get volunteers, we'll have 1 winery meeting a month instead of 2.
Yeah, so understand, if we don't get we have to have people to fill this role. And this is a go or no-go opportunity. So, how many hands do we see?
I have a question.
Yeah, question, Doc.
I have a question. Since this winery does weddings and other events, do they have any equipment?
No,
there?
they do not have their own equipment.
They do not.
And they will not, at this time, not let us store equipment. So I know another question, why don't we just buy another set of equipment? That's not an option right now.
Okay.
Okay, so those are 2 obvious solutions that we thought of. We've already reserved the time at the winery. Everything is all set except for this step. It's not a small thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I can store and load it in my car and have it in my car, but I don't think I can lift all that stuff. So if we could have a team where somebody would lift it into the car and out of the car and into my storage place, I can be part of it.
Yeah, I don't think we can solve that problem.
I'll volunteer.
Okay, there's 1 volunteer. Okay. David? Jim? That's 3. Catalina? That's 4 right there.
Make it 5.
There's 5. Okay, you guys, thank you very much. Special thanks to Dennis.
Okay, question.
Pat, I've got a question. The
Yes.
question is, so when we all voted on 2 meetings a month at the wineries, it was not brought up.
It was not brought up to everybody how labor intrusive it is to have the meetings off-site.
twice a month. Because it's not just for the audiovisual, it's also for the sergeant at arms. They have to take the banners, the badges, the ticket roller, and everything else. And
I can take that.
right. Well, the question is, with it being so much more labor intrusive to everybody, why don't we haven't had a vote since we decided to do 2 meetings a month? Would it make more sense with everybody knowing how much extra work it is, re-vote rather than creating this? I'm just bringing it up to a discussion. That's all.
Sheila, do you have a comment on
Well,
that?
I think the 2 extra tubs, I don't think it's that big of a deal for me to throw that in my truck. I mean, it's not, I don't know that it's all that late. Yeah, see, I can't. So I don't mind doing it. I think if that's all that's in the way of us having the meeting, I'm willing to throw that 2 extra things in my truck. I would be willing to do that. That's not big of a deal for me.
I have a comment too. I mean,
This is another semi-social event. We have a lot of guests, so is it that important to have all of the badges, to do this, to take all the badges out and everything else? You know, that's my question. Is so once a month, can we live without our badge for 1 meeting a month? And that would take a little bit of the burden off, because it's a lot of organization to do that.
Sheila?
My comment is, I think you all have established, I guess, traditions, and that's one of them, and I really admire that, and I think it speaks to the fact that we're having a meeting, and we take it seriously regardless of where we are. So we have a lot of fun there. I love the winery vibe because people bring their spouses and they bring potential guests. We have potential members. We're working on one right now.
Potential spouses.
Potential spouses. We're a full service club.
So
you kind of have to accept change from time to time.
there are lots of issues, for sure, including things like, and I think what we're going to do, what we're proposing is that we do this for, say, 6 months. And see at the end of the 6 months, hey, this is too much work, or it's really productive, or people don't, whatever. And if it doesn't work after 6 months, we'll cancel it.
Fair enough.
Okay? And the board is making these detailed decisions too. And so we really brought it to everyone so it's not a surprise. It's really the board's going to take over and start this 6-month period.
When's the first month?
Well, we're thinking it'll be the month of November or the month of January. The board will finally make that decision.
Very good.
Hopefully it'll be November. And the reason we had to wait that long is because the speakers, Joel is arranging the speakers for October, and he has to tell them today when they have to show up and where.
Oh, there's that.
So there's that. Okay.
So Trex and I just want you to know that
Hi.
Take it away, Trex.
We had the clipboards go around the last 2 meetings. One was at the winery, the other was here for anybody that didn't go to the winery meeting. Looking forward to seeing you guys September the 20th at 8 a.m. at Hageman Farm. I sent an email out to everybody that had signed up on the list. I thought I could sign us all up, but each person has to individually sign up with the city of Livermore for the event.
I signed up this morning. I got the very last place. There's
Oh.
100 people on the list.
Oh, gee.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sure they'll take more.
No, that's
Okay, next up. So we talked about this last week, and we need your help again. We asked that you check the online service calendar weekly and be part of the club where you sign up, where you can help, and help when you arrive at our meetings and help when we close the meeting down and take care of the tablecloths, etc. So Tim Berry isn't left with everything all by himself. Thank you, Tim. So next up, next week's program will be Scouting in the Bay Area, presented by our new member, Phil DeCal. Is Phil here this morning? Is he here? Or this afternoon? Phil here? Well, he'll be presenting next week, and it's bound to be a great presentation. And next we have our very own Paul McCandless today, talking about around Lake Tahoe in 8 days. Thank you, Paul. Great to have you.
I have 3 things in 2 hands, so we'll see how this goes. So I'm going to be talking, referring to my notes. I'm pretty easily distracted, so I'll be talking, referring to my notes as this goes on. So thank you for putting up with that. And also I'm going to ask that people hold your questions until the end, because you could throw me way off in a loop otherwise. So late last winter, I was skiing with a friend of mine, Patrick, and he mentioned that he was getting really excited about trying to do the Tahoe Rim Trail. It's a 171 trail that goes around Lake Tahoe up on the ridge lines, and he was looking for someone to go with him. And that, I've done a lot of challenging trips, you know, mountaineering and rafting and hiking over my life, but it's been many years, and I got to thinking about his suggestion and realized that, you know, I had been wanting the last couple of years to get up more into the Sierras and do some backpacking trips. Now, this trip that he was talking about around the Rim Trail, and he wanted to do it in what he called good style, which meant, you know, a little more than 20 miles a day and try to get, you know, just go light and fast. And that was pretty challenging for me, but I decided after a while it would get me off my butt and finally, you know, get the new gear and start hiking again. And so I finally agreed and realized that I had to get in shape because I was not at all in shape for something like that. So I was training here around town, and I had 3.5 months. And as you can see there, I did a lot of hiking. I did several overnight hikes here, mostly south of town in the hills up out of Del Valle, but also in the local parks like Sycamore Park. And logged a lot of miles. And for those of you who keep track of your exercise in steps, I did 734,650 steps of training during this time. And it worked out well. And did a lot of elevation gain. One of the nice things about the hills at that time was that over that 3.5 months in the spring, that's kind of wildflower season. So I was able to see the wildflowers, you know, this species come and go, and more wildflowers would show up afterward. And here's just a collection of some of the wildflowers I saw and took pictures of in springtime, just in the hills around Livermore. And while these last few months there, Patrick lives in Truckee, he and I were talking on the phone and, you know, getting our gear together, talking about where we were going to camp, exactly what trail we were going to take, because the Tahoe Rim Trail has been built together over the years. It's actually been built up for, I think, 50 years. And we needed to pick out the exact routes we were going to go and where we were going to camp, how we were going to get water and food through it. And one of the few reasons, or one of the reasons I was willing to do it, is because with the Tahoe Rim Trail, there's many road crossings, which means we could get resupplied on a regular basis, and that would help with our goal of trying to do a lot of miles in a day. We wouldn't be carrying as much weight. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. The other thing is it has good cell phone coverage, so if I got in trouble, I could scream for help.
Paul, could we turn the light down on the front behind you?
Dennis, do you know where the lights are? Well, no.
We'll be all right.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah. Make sure I can still read here.
He didn't prepare for total darkness.
Yeah, it wasn't prepared to be in the dark. So we started off at Brockway Summit. We're going clockwise around the lake. And our first day is going to be about 16 miles total, but we're really only going 14 miles until we get to where Highway 431 drops down into Reno. And my wife is going to meet us there, my wife Jill. And when we realized that she had decided she was going to come up, spend the entire time up there, do some hiking of her own, and meet us at the resupplies and sometimes hike with us. And that gave us the opportunity to go with some very light backpacks until we met up with her. So it was really just sort of a day hike for 14 miles over to Highway 431, and then we went off from there. Now here we have myself, my partner Patrick, and then a friend of ours who was working and couldn't do the full hike with us, but he did join us on the first and last days just because he wanted to get in some extra exercise. And you can see over on the right with our very lightweight packs, we start off on our 8-day trip. And again, we're going across the north of Lake Tahoe. So right now we're looking south. And you can see, if you look closely, snow-covered mountains down in the off the south side of Lake Tahoe. Coming in now at our resupply spot at Highway 431. And here's my wife with our car. And if you look in the car here, go to this again. Here's my pack now, much bigger pack. There's a little pack I had been carrying. And we have a lot of extra supplies in the car. We have supplies in case, the weather was forecast to be beautiful for the entire trip, but we did have extra clothes in the car. We also had extra shoes in case our shoes wore out or got too sore at our feet. And we had extra food for the resupply, of course, and batteries to recharge our cell phones so we could scream for help if we needed to. As far as the pack goes, my pack now is going to weigh no more than 23 pounds for the entire trip. The pack, that's one of the things about backpacking technology, 23 pounds, that's probably half of what I carried when I was in the Boy Scouts. Okay, so the equipment has gotten much better, and also the mental philosophy of what you need to carry has changed a lot over the years. So people in general will carry a lot less and a lot more things that are dual use, so you don't need to carry as much. Here, Patrick and I are having our last hot meal. One of the things that's changed is we're not carrying stoves. So we're gonna be eating freeze-dried food, some freeze-dried food. We're also eating some fresh fruit and other types of food. But some freeze-dried food, I would simply add water at about noon, and when I got to camp or when we ate dinner at about 5 o'clock, it would be wet enough. More on that later too.
What would that be?
And here we are with our packs on and launching off across the highway, heading up to our camp. That's about 2.5 miles away for the night. So on day 2, we're heading south now, and we're going on that ridge line that goes between Nevada and the Tahoe Basin. And this turned out to be a beautiful trail. In fact, I would say this was some of the nicest terrain of the whole trip, because the trail kind of wandered from ridge side to ridge side, just up on the top of the ridge. And so up here, we're looking over over Nevada, and that's the Washoe Lake down there, and Washoe City down there. About a half a mile later, we're looking over Merritt Lake, this little one, and Lake Tahoe. And the trail just did that all day. And it was really spectacular, and the trail is in really good shape and easy to walk. And these are just some more pictures. of the terrain. Sometimes we were in trees. For the most part, on days 2 and 3, we were actually in the open. And then we move on to day 3, which is our longest day of the trip. We did 25 miles that day, and it's the second most elevation gain we did in a day. Now here I'd just like to point out, so we would typically wake up when we woke up, and then we would leave camp at about 7 in the morning. We'd hike until noonish or a little after noon, and typically taking pretty frequent breaks, especially early in the trip. Later in the trip, as we got used to it, our breaks stretched out, or the time between breaks stretched out a little bit. But then we'd take a long lunch, an hour or 2 at lunch to give our legs a good recovery, and then we'd eat dinner at about 5 o'clock, and then hike 3 to 5 more miles to where we were going to camp. Part of the reason for that is it gets you out of the heat of the day, right? So you're not doing most of your work in the middle of heat, you're doing it in the evening and in the morning. And here's some of the terrain again that you see. We went through Heavenly Ski Area and walked underneath, some of the lifts there. And then we came back into California and came down to Kingsbury Grade, where once again my loyal wife met us. And we actually just got water here and ate a little bit and headed on up I think we went about 5 more miles this day to where we were camping at. And here you can see we're going up in the evening. We had this majestic Sierra Juniper. And there is Patrick hiking up. And you see the peak up here on the left is Job's Peak. And we're going to be camping at a lake right underneath that. And then the final picture, of course, is, kind of hiking in twilight here. And we get up to the lake just as the alpenglow is shining on Mount Job's Peak behind us. And on the right is what a typical campsite would look like once we got all set up. And I had a teeny little tent that worked great and was very light. On day 4, we're going off of the ridge now that we had been on. And day 4, the trails were more rugged than they had been. And the terrain was a little more varied. But so here you can see, we're running into some snow banks, but we also went through some very, just amazing meadows and jumbled rocks and big fields full of flowers. And here's Patrick taking some pictures. And so I mentioned that in the springtime in the hills around Livermore, we got to see a lot of great flowers come and go. Well, since the Sierras are higher elevation, springtime comes later. And it just worked out that we were there right about peak flower season. And so I've got a few pictures here of a selection of the flowers we saw along the way. And we would often see these flowers multiple times in a day. I mean, sometimes through big fields of them. And let's see. And once again on day 4, we ran into the Pacific Crest Trail, which would be following for a couple of more days. I've never been on it before, and so I had envisioned Pacific Crest Trail. I hear all about people hiking it. I was expecting, super highway, paved, stop signs and so forth. But none of that. It was actually, in fact, a little rougher than many of the trails we'd been on already. Which takes us to day 5. And day 5 was very rough trails. It got even worse. And it turned out that day 5 was a very windy day. In fact, they were predicting over the very top of the crest, not where we were, but over the crest, winds of up to 80 miles an hour. But where we were, it was quite windy, and we'd get buffeted a little bit. And we woke up at Shower Lake, and it was just sunrise on the ridge line behind us. And there's a creek crossing, and then we went through the Caldor fire area, where the fire burned a couple years ago, almost got to South Lake Tahoe. And again, very windy, and we had the unfortunate experience, or fortunate or unfortunate, experience of hearing a big cracking sound, and looking down and seeing one of these dead trees fall over. And that reminded us of how close we were to these dead trees. And so we actually, Pat was a little bit ahead of me at this time, but I actually kind of, anytime I'd see a tree that looked like it might fall, like we were walking straight into the wind, so if a tree was straight in front of me, I'd sort of rush along to get past it. So kind of stressful mentally for me, actually. And then we went past Echo Lakes and got resupplied there. Patrick's wife, Lori, was there, as was my wife, Jill. And we had, they actually brought us food. That was really nice. So we had food. And then we went up into the Desolation Wilderness. And again, more varied terrain that we're going over here. And yeah. And here again, we would be sometimes on the very right there on bare granite and sometimes crossing over snowfields. And this is up toward the end of the valley there for Desolation Wilderness, and we're looking back over Lake Aloha with Pyramid Peak behind it. And again, it doesn't really come out in these pictures, but the wind is just howling through there. And we were walking straight into it almost all the time.
Note the trees and branches on only one side.
Yeah, there weren't many trees there. But we did manage to go up over a small ridge and drop down to a lake, Lake Susie, that was out of the wind. So we were able to camp out of the wind that night. That worked out quite well. Day 6, again, more varied terrain. And here we went up over Dix Pass. And this is the top of Dix Pass, looking to the south. And this is the last time we're going to see the Desolation Wilderness. You can see here Lake Susie, where we camped. And this was that Lake Aloha I talked about with Pyramid Peak in the background. The Desolation Wilderness is one of my favorite spots, but I would have preferred having less wind. This is looking north from Dix Pass. And of course, you see the big snowfield, and then Dix Lake. Down below that, there's a few more lakes. And off in the distance, you see a few clouds, which we talked about for a while because there had been no clouds in any weather reports we had looked at, including at noon the day before. And we decided to just keep our eye on that. So the first thing we had to do is go down over that big snowfield. We get down finally to Dix Lake, and this is looking back up at Dix Pass. And then, of course, we have a lot of little lakes and creeks to go over. Another river crossing. At about 1 in the afternoon, we notice that the clouds now are getting a little thicker. And we're hiking along and kind of, watching them and start to get a few pellets of hail here and there. After a while, the pellets are a little more frequent, and we're sort of keeping our eyes about where, what's going on in the forest around us. And then all of a sudden, it gets a lot darker and a lot colder, just in a matter of minutes. And we said, okay. So we were fortunate. There was places to set up a camp nearby, just some bare areas we could set up our tents. So we did, and crawled into our tents for an hour. And when we came back out, we had an inch of snow on the ground. Wow. So we packed everything up and got back on the now muddy, sloshy trail. But it was a pretty hike after that. We did, I'll add, since we lost like 2 hours in that routine, we ended up hiking for 4 hours straight to get to our camp because we were a little later than we planned to be. And that was the latest night we got into camp. We got in about 8:30, and it was dark, late twilight as we got into camp. Now, I'd also point out that sadly, I don't know if anybody heard this, but there was some boats swamped on, this was the day that happened. And it was that storm that came out of nowhere that had not been predicted by anybody. The wind wasn't nearly as bad where we were. In fact, that day wasn't particularly windy at all for us, but on Lake Tahoe it was. But we did get the hail and the snow. Day 7 now, and you'll like this. So day 7, the trail itself goes through Tahoe City and then back up. And the day 7 was one, we got up at our normal time, but our gear was pretty wet from the day before, and our shoes were wet. So we actually set everything out in the sunshine. Luckily, it was a beautiful sunny, warm morning. We set everything out in the sunshine. So we didn't leave camp until about 8:30 that morning, but we did have nice dry gear. And we had, the trails were getting better, very nice, with the exception of these down trees across the trail that would be sometimes a half a mile apart, sometimes 100 yards apart. And it really meant that we had to scramble over them, and sometimes we were hiking along steep hills and we have to go up and around or down and below and up, back up again. So that actually got to be fairly frustrating. Later in the summer, as the summer wears on, the Forest Service will clear a lot of those, but made for tough going for a while. And we still had some snow fields to go over, and then just a picture of Patrick with some scenery in the background. And we got into Tahoe City. Lori, Patrick's wife, met us there. We got our final bit of food that we'd need for the last day. We cleaned up a little bit in their nice camper van and repacked our packs. And then we went over to the Bridge Tinder restaurant and had a huge lunch. After that, we hiked about 4 more miles back up to where our camp was. And at our camp, this was a section that didn't have much water. And Patrick had cached some water there, or hidden some water at the campsite a little bit before we had done the hike. And so that worked out well. Day 8 now is a short day, 14 miles, 2,000 feet of elevation gain. And we got some good views in. And this is just me looking back out over the lake. And then this is Alpine Meadow ski area. We were up on the ridge between that and Lake Tahoe, looking down into the ski area. And we had very nice trails, and finished up at about 1 o'clock that day. So in total, we went 164 miles. And as I said earlier, it's 171 miles is kind of the official trail that currently stands. We actually had cut out 6 miles at the very beginning because there was a lot of snow up on that section, and it actually was a little loop you did that I don't know why they did it actually, but you come to the highway, then you do a loop, and then you go on again. And we didn't do the extra loop there, so we actually did 164 miles. And for those of you, again, who like to keep track of steps, 367,000 steps, or 367,742 steps, about 29,000 feet of elevation gain, and again, 8 days of duration, or 8 days and 7 nights. With that, I would be delighted to take any questions you might have.
Microphone. So when you were in your tents at night, weren't you afraid of bears and animals?
So, no, not at all.
Did you see any?
Not bears, no. We saw a few, Michael was asking what kind of animals there were. We saw some marmots and a couple pikas and of course a lot of chipmunks and some birds, but and a few deer here and there, and that was about it. Yeah. Other questions? Sheila?
Is that strictly a walking trail, which I would assume, not bicycle, just walking?
Very good question. You are not allowed to ride a bicycle in the wilderness area. So Desolation Wilderness, which was about 50 or 60 miles of the trail. But everywhere else you were allowed to mountain bike, and we, especially on that eastern side coming down, those are beautiful mountain biking trails. And we did see a few mountain bikers there and would stop and chat with them.
Mark?
So was your physical preparation enough? I mean, did you feel comfortable as you were doing it, or did you get to day 3 and go, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into?
Well, I knew day 3 was going to be tough because that's typically when the altitude starts to get to you the most. And it was our longest day. It was a 26-mile day. I think that for the most part, my physical preparation was good enough. The one issue that did come up was about the third day. In all my training, I had gotten big calluses on my feet. And about the third day, I actually started to form a blister underneath the callus on my left foot. And I was hoping that was going to go away just as it got used to suffering. And in fact, it kind of stayed the same for about 3 days. And the last couple of days, it hurt quite a bit and was very distracting. But otherwise, yeah, I think my fitness was pretty good. Yes?
I'm just curious about what that food was that you added water to, and it was wet enough.
Okay, so great question.
Good question.
And this will address a little bit of Linda's concern also. So what I have here is what we call a bear canister. And so in all these national forests, you're required to carry all of you're required to have your food in a canister like this each night. And there are different sizes that you can get a bigger one. This is the one I actually used. And my wife was smart enough to set this out. So here's like a typical package of freeze-dried food. This one is a breakfast thing, but there'd be like lasagna or chicken cacciatore or spaghetti. And normally you add like a cup and a half of hot water to them, and in 10 minutes they're pretty, they're warm and pretty good. And I will say that at about I think it was that night of day 6, when I went to eat, it was that long day where we did the long push, and we ended up being at the only campsite where there was a porta potty there. And I took 2 bites of what I had, and I put the rest in the porta potty. I was pretty much done with that, although, and it worked out because we had the restaurant the next day, and so, but I missed a couple of those meals. And it's not something I'm looking forward to again.
So future
backpacking, I'm going to be going shorter distances carrying a stove and eating hot food. Yeah.
So you didn't have hot water to add to it?
No,
did you?
no.
Yeah. So it's cold water to cold lasagna.
Yeah.
Oh, yum.
How much weight did you lose weight?
I lost a couple of pounds, about 3 pounds. I was trying not to. In fact, I think probably the first 3 days I might have been gaining weight because I was really making an effort to eat. But like I said, my appetite, and it happens when you're at altitude, your appetite tends to fade away, or the longer you spend up there. Other questions?
Paul, how did you feel at the end? Were you interested in going on any further, or did you suffer from aches and pains?
Well, I'll tell you what, I felt like I was in pretty good shape. I think that my partner, Patrick, he kind of got to think, he felt pretty good the first few days and didn't think he needed to eat as much as he did need to eat. And the last few days, he was running out of energy. But, and as I said though, my foot was sore. It was really sore that last day, and I'm not sure I could have gone another day with the sore foot. Yeah. Other questions? Okay, well, thank
you. And so, Paul, conforming to our usual traditions here, we'd like to present you, Paul and I had conferred earlier, with this beautiful bottle of Olivina Frantoia Extra Virgin Olive Oil. Thank you so much for your presentation. And the photography is off the charts. Thank you. Any other discussion before we adjourn?
Winning ticket.
Winning ticket. Sergeant.
Okay, so we've got red and blue.
The answer is?
It's a red